In the left corner I have Smith & Wesson. In the right corner I have Colt. No punches below the belt. And let's go. Okay. Well, all joking aside, that is always the question, right? Smith & Wesson or Colt? Well, I happen to have both. So you can see the decision I made, which was buying both. Anyway, this one here is I chose these two because they're both around the same frame sizes, and they're both 38s, and they're both 4-inch barrels, and I believe they both served the police force in the time when they were king. So that's, and this one here has kind of a larger grip on it, which I like. This is the original grips that the previous owner had put on there. So, and it's a smooth grip. It's no checkering. It is a Smith & Wesson grip, so it's a little bit larger than the standard stock grips that it comes with. So let's close it up here, and got the adjustable sights and everything, and diamondback. So this is a diamondback, Colt diamondback. So it was offered, it's a smaller revolver than the Python. It doesn't have the handwork that the Python has, but it does you know, it does serve its purpose. It's really nice. It's a great shooting gun. I enjoy it. I shoot it at the range a lot. Mainly bought this because of a movie called Brannigan with John Wayne, where he takes a trip to London, and this is the gun he carries. In the first minute or so of the film, the opening title sequences, you can see they're brandishing it and showing it off with great luster, and makes you just, at least for me, it made me just want to get one immediately. So here it is. Really cool gun. Really cool vintage gun. I think mine's vintage 70s. I looked up the serial number once. But no, this one here is a model 15 Smith & Wesson. Really well built gun. This thing's a tank. Locks up great. And this thing is awesome. I love this gun. Shoot it a lot. You know, 4-inch barrel, Smith & Wesson, it can't go wrong. So some of the things that are different, you know, Colt versus Smith & Wesson, back to the main topic of the video here, you know, is one of the big differences right away is the cylinder release latch. Smith & Wesson's, you just push it. You just push it and pop it right open. I mean, you can do it one hand. Push it, pop it right open. Okay, Colt is a little bit different. Colt had done something a little bit different here. Colt, you pull, okay? So it's a little harder to do it one hand. You can't, at least I can't. Maybe some people have got real good at it. But, you know, you just gotta kind of roll it, pull, and pop the cylinder out. Eject the empties there. Okay? The other thing is, Colts, they go clockwise. Okay? So you can see the cylinder goes clockwise. Doesn't matter what hand you are, it still goes clockwise. And the Smith & Wessons go counterclockwise. So you can see. Okay. Interesting, right? Now this one's had an action job done to it. So it really is nice. It's a smooth action on that one right there. So anyway, so if you're in a gunfight, you wanna make sure you only have time to load up a couple of shots. You better remember, if you got a Smith & Wesson, you better put that thing at 1 o'clock. Or if you have a Colt, you better put it at 11 o'clock, right? So they're both dressed up really nice. I really like the wood grips. So this is the original wood grips. These ones are nice dark wood grips there with the silver medallion and everything. You know, the Colt really does have nice, they just, their guns are like pieces of art. I tell you, this thing with the vent rib and the full underlug on the barrel, they really knew how to design this thing and make it look sexy. Not to say that the Smith & Wesson isn't, because it is. I like it. In fact, this is what Roy Scheider carried in Jaws, I believe. This is the model gun he used. It was a Model 15. In fact, it's funny. One of my subscribers and fellow friend, Uzi9, he is a big movie buff, and him and I were talking when chatting back and forth online about the Internet Movie Firearm Database. It's basically, if you're a gun fanatic and you love the movies and everything with the guns, that's your go-to for resources on what was that gun that guy was carrying, or in that movie. Anyway, the Model 15 oddly shows up a lot. It's always the Model 15 Smith & Wesson. It's always like the standby gun. Every movie I always have, some guy standing there by the police car or something. Oh, he had a Model 15, or some bad guy crashing through the window. He had a Model 15. Just really strange, that it's kind of like the standby gun, but this one is really nice. It's got a nice action done to it. I mean, that's it. It's so sweet and smooth, and it fires unbelievably. So this one does have a nice action, but it's not as nice as the Smith & Wesson per se, because that one's had a nice little action job done to it. But the Python is definitely got an action job and a half. In the cases where the Python and the Smith & Wesson's gone head to head, oddly, I don't know if it's odd, but to my surprise, the Smith & Wesson outshoots it, and that's truth. Guys know I'm a Colt guy, so that's really hard for me to say. But don't get me wrong, I love Smith & Wesson. I mean, come on, Dirty Harry to Model 29. You guys seen my video on that. I love the Smith & Wessons. They're really a tank of a gun. They're really well built, and you got a Smith & Wesson over something else. So, but they've had things where the Python and the Smith & Wesson has gone side to side. Like I think the 686 they were using, it outshot it. Even Jerry Michalak, if you don't know who he is, oh man, I mean, come on. He shot them side by side, the Python and the Smith & Wesson 686, I believe. And he couldn't shoot the Python as well. It didn't reset quick enough, or the reset was a little, sluggish, I think, compared to his Smith & Wesson, so he was unable to fire it as fast as he wanted to. And the other thing about Colts is, and I've had to do it to this gun, and I've done it to a Python too, the spring over time on these old guns, they just, because of the design on them, because it's kind of a spring like this inside, it's like a scissors, and so it's under that constant tension. So when it's just pulled, it needs that extra oomph to fire the primer. So in double action, you'll get a lot of times you're firing it and it's click, click, boom. Oh wow, what happened? That's a real common thing with the old Colts. I've had that with the Python and this gun here too. So I've tuned them both to where it won't do it now. But of course, that's also primer and ammo dependent. It depends what type of ammo and everything you're using. Now the primers I definitely noticed that issue with was the S&B primers, Cellular and Ballot or something. Forget where they're from, Hungary or something. And I've heard from other friends that they've had problems with Wolf primers and things like that. So I've had good luck with CCI primers and Winchester primers, and I've had no issues with it. Even this gun here with the tuned action and the light spring and everything on it, it still fired double action just nice. I don't know if it could be the weight of the hammer. Maybe the Smith & Wessons don't have the weight to have the inertia to go forward. Maybe their hammers are a little lighter. Hold on, let's take a look at that while we're thinking about that. So let's look at them side by side. I don't know, what do you think? Looks like there's a little bit more meat on the Smith & Wesson, doesn't it? So that could be one of the issues, and they're a little thinner. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know how well the lighting is in here. Sorry about that. I'm not running a $1 million studio, but anyway. It does seem like there's a little more meat on the Smith & Wesson. It does. So take a look at this. Little adjustment screws right there. Again, I don't really pull the old Colts out too much. They're more or less collector's items for me. But I do like to shoot this one, play John Wayne at the range a little bit sometimes. But anyway, just wanted to show those to you. Colt versus Smith & Wesson, not the greatest comparison, but a little look and a little insight. We'll be doing more of them with the other Colts and the other Smith & Wessons, and we'll take them to the range and shoot them side by side. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for viewing the channel and the video.